it's Hannah with Vibrant Restorations, and on this beautiful sunny day I'm going to be painting this old antique sideboard. It's very rustic, but it has such a cool feel. It has great details, has this cool old hardware. I'm just really excited about getting my hands on it to paint. Today I figured I would use this Colonel Mustard by Dixie Belle. It's a chalk mineral paint. And also this lemonade color, which is a very, very light yellow. For some reason, I like to acquire furniture that is back-breaking, extremely heavy, and I usually question my judgment once once I have to move it off my trailer back into my shed. I'm wondering why in the world did I have to go for the biggest blinking piece of furniture I could find. And it would probably be because I just gravitate towards the buffets, the sideboards, the big dressers, big long dressers. I just love them. So I am just going to mist my brush with some water and get started with the Colonel Mustard, which is the chalk mineral paint by Dixie Belle. Give it a little shake. I have not used this color before, so I'm excited to try it out. I'm gonna dip my brush in it, not get too crazy, just a little bit for starters. We're all probably feeling a little stir crazy. I'm just glad for some nice weather to where I can actually finally paint. And my husband's off work, so it makes it a little bit easier today to get out to my shed, since I've got somebody keeping an eye on the kids, hopefully. That's a really pretty color. I love yellow. Does anybody else love yellow? I've always had great luck with selling pieces in yellow. I just think it's so pretty. This piece, the people that I actually bought it off of said that they had purchased it from a gentleman who was an antique collector, and he had bought this off of a like a shipping container from Europe. So this is supposed to be a pretty old piece. If you open up the doors, I'll show you real quick. Let's see. Or maybe this one. It's just real neat. All wood. It's really dark and has a very old feel to it. Almost like an old kitchen cabinet or something. There we go. And I know I'm sorry for the glare. I can't seem to get past the glare with the sun shining, so it's kind of coming through everything. There we go. With spring here, what is your favorite color to paint in? Or do you have a new color that you're looking to try out? There's so much out there to choose from, but I'd love to hear what your go-to spring color is. With it being so humid too, I'm gonna have to remember to kind of keep spraying with some water to keep the paint moving nice and smooth. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those really awesome mister bottles yet from like Dixie Belle. I think you can get them at Hobby Lobby too, but Dixie Belle has like a bigger size. I'd love to have one of those. Now with this piece, I did clean it, and I slightly sanded it. It's not real super glossy though, so I wasn't too worried about the gloss. I did run out of Boss, which is a odor blocking, stain blocking. It also helps prevent bleed through. It's a product by Dixie Belle, and I really, really love it. Unfortunately, I ran out of it. I need to get some more, so I'm going to take my chances and hope that it doesn't, that the tannins don't bleed through on me. And if so, I'm going to go through it with some wax. Maybe just do a little bit of wax over it to try to cover up any of the tannins that come through should I have that issue. But here we go. Everybody can see okay. There we go. I keep watching videos and everybody says they're gonna have so much time to paint, and since they're gonna be home, they're gonna be doing all these wonderful projects, and I can't help but wonder if I'm going to actually have time to paint because my kids are home. And with my kids being home, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to make it out to my shed to paint without them running the house like little crazy people. So I'm still feeling a little lost during this time because I usually have, with school, or I have Mommy's Day Out program for my little one. I've got 3 children. I've got a 12-year-old, I've got a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And so I have Mommy's Day Out for my 3-year-old. And those are the days that I usually get all my painting done because I feel like that's my me time. I prepare for those days when I'm going to paint and don't have to worry about keeping up with her. And so without that, I've been feeling a little bit trapped as far as trying to get my me time in. I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you have small children, what do you guys do to help keep them occupied? Or how do you find time to do things like crafts or painting, or help me out? What do you guys do? That would be, I'd like to find out what everybody else is doing with having the kids home. My house is too small to paint inside. I used to paint inside my house. I loved how easy it was to just paint right from inside. I had more time, it seemed like, to paint when I didn't have to worry about watching them. But then we redid all our floors in my house, and yeah, I got banished from painting in the house anymore. So I'm sure you can see. I really love the coverage of Dixie Belle's paint. It's a little bit thicker than some of the other brands, and I've always loved my chalk paint to be on the thicker side. I feel like it's a lot easier to work with, and it covers better. And of course, if you want, I'd rather be able to water it down just a little bit than to not be able to thicken it up. I feel like there's a big difference there. I'm just using just the straight paint, and just to help it flow a little bit better, I'm using just plain water. I actually kind of like having the yellow on the hardware a little bit. It's kind of cool because it's so dark. It just makes it look kind of interesting. I'll have to revisit that and see what I think later. Sure I don't have any drips anywhere. Gotta keep it an easy cleanup for later. I'm gonna spray my brush for a second and just wrap it in this bag so it doesn't get hard while it's waiting its turn to go again. Okay. Go. And this is the lemonade color that I'm gonna do. It's a really, really light, almost like a baby yellow. I'm gonna kind of bring that up into the dark yellow. Go ahead and mist my brush. Just makes things flow a lot easier. Take some of this, don't want to waste any of the paint. I'm going to try to kind of keep it, from touching the other yellow at this time. I'm going to try to blend them a little bit, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. Does anybody else have their house, like anything accented in their house in yellow? Or do you have any yellow pieces in your house? Okay, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I have a brush that I'm going to use for the blending. And of course I put it somewhere. There it is. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of water. I'm going to reactivate this paint some and try to make it come up a little bit. See how it kind of blends into that dark yellow a little bit and gives it a real nifty, soft look. So that the yellow kind of brings your eyes down. Kind of want to add a little bit more of my dark yellow in too. Maybe I wrapped my brush up too soon. And remember, this is just the first coat, so you can always, on your second coat, you can change things up even a little bit more. Give some dark for the, to get blended down into the light. A little bit on this side. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. I don't want to overwork the paint. If I do overwork it, it'll start stripping what I've already done off of there. We don't want that. So, and I'm gonna get this, get my lemonade color again. And this little part right here is this weird little cabinet. It's almost like a little safe or something. It's different, definitely different from what I'm used to on a buffet. I think that's one of the reasons why I like them so much, is because it seems like everyone I've ever done is different. There's not a real super uniform. It's not like in the French provincials and East Lakes and some of those other colors. It seems like you could get the same dresser, but for some reason on buffets, I always end up with something with its own unique style. So I guess that's just one of those things. I just love that. I love working with some of the different styles and keeps it interesting. This yellow is so subtle, it almost looks like a cream, or Dixie Belle has a color called buttercream, which is a real like egg white, and I love that color too. And this really reminds me a lot of a cream color. When I'm done with this, I will go back in and touch the insides of like the tops of the drawers and like the inside lip. I just, for this sake, it's just easier to get it done with everything in there. Plus with blending, I want it to be uniform. I don't want it to be choppy. Hopefully, that's my goal. I like to always encourage people too, if you're on the fence about painting, you really don't have anything to lose. The great thing about paint is that if you don't like the direction it's going in, let it dry some and then paint over it. Now, I'm not going to get too far. Once again, it's hard not to just keep going because you're in the zone, but with blending, you don't want to get so far ahead that everything dries before you have a chance to work it a little bit. So, go. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of the yellow. I'm going to add some on here so that I can blend it down into this light color. Gotta have a little something to work with. Go. Take my blending brush, give it a good little mist of water. And if I have enough lemonade left over after this beast, I might do one. Maybe like a little side table. I've got a really cute little French provincial side table that would be darling with lemonade on it. It's hard to keep up with your brushes sometimes when you're blending to make sure that you don't get them all mixed up with your other colors. Go. And once again, this is just the first coat. So if there's any places that I need to change, I can always bring it back on the second coat. This is just our base coat that we're laying down. Really kind of helps us get an idea of where we're going with this. Go ahead and get our lemonade again, and we're going to go over here to this other side. I love these dark wooden pieces of furniture because if you do get a little scratch or something, all you get is that beautiful wood coming through, and it just adds to it, in my opinion. Dark and light together. That water makes such a huge difference. So I'm kind of struggling to bring the colors together. You just give it a couple little spritz and you're off again. And I'm just doing this with a really light hand. I'm not, I don't want to peel back the paint that I've already done. Just want to kind of blend them together a little bit. And you can even bring the lemonade. I'm thinking about once this is dried and I get my second coat on, I might come back with the lemonade and bring it up just a little bit more. I think that that will give it a really neat look. I might even bring it up here some too. What do you guys think? I think that it needs just a little bit of the lemonade up through here. Maybe up a little bit more because I'm really loving that color. Wipe off my blending brush a little bit and get my lemonade brush. Kind of bring it. Let's see what happens if we bring it up some. There we go. My blending brush again. And see, you can see, you have to be careful when you get doing some of this, is that you don't just pull the paint off that you've already done. This is starting to do some of that because the paint, the first bit that I laid down is starting to get a little bit tacky. And so my brush is actually pulling some of that paint off. So that's when you know that you're working it probably more than you should. Maybe move to a different area, continue to let that dry some, and then come back for your second coat, or just wait for it to dry. Little areas that are popping through. And it's not the tannin that's coming through, it's the actual, just from spraying it and working it. So I'm gonna let that go. Actually, I think it's kind of a cool look, which maybe I'm just weird. But I really like rustic. I really like things that have some depth and some texture. So this piece might be full of that. I'm not sure if I really like that painted or not. We'll see. No harm done. Maybe a little bit of it just needs to be peeking through. Let's see. Yeah. Not too much though, or you start to scratch it like I just did there. That's the thing about painting. You just go with the flow. Go with the flow. So you can see we've done the dark, moving it down into kind of a blend between the light and then going down into the light. And it just gives it more dimension. It gives it just a little bit more pizzazz. And it's really in right now. All this blending stuff is kind of where a lot of people are going with the furniture painting because it gives it an interesting look. So I'm gonna move a little bit of this yellow, a little bit of the Colonel Mustard back onto up here. And of course, the only way to figure out what you like is to try it out. Try out the painting, try out the blending, see what you like. The second part of the first video, I did work on the sides and I think they turned out really good. I put 2 coats on those. This being a darker piece, I might actually have to put a little bit more paint on just because you can see some of the dark wood coming through. Normally on pieces, I don't have to put more than 2 coats, but this is a very dark color. So it helps sometimes just to add a little bit more paint just to make sure you cover those areas. But for this video, I just wanted to show you how it was looking with the second coat blended in. So here I'm going to move you over here so you can kind of get a good view of it. And took the hardware off. I'd gotten a little bit of paint on it, so I went ahead and soaked it in warm sudsy water, got all the paint off of that, because I don't really like the feel of painted hardware. I don't know why. I thought I should try it out, but I knew I would instantly regret it, which I did. So I had to go back and create a fun step for myself to clean my hardware, which is never a bad thing to go ahead and get any old dirt and grime off there. Go. Now with the blending, you really just want to get a good coverage, and then you can bring it down and then meet it with your other color and then blend those together so that you get a nice smooth combination of the two. So I'm just getting this dark on here first. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself because it will start to dry, and you need it wet in order to go ahead and blend the colors together. So I'm going to put the paint, this yellow down, since I've got this part covered really nicely. Go ahead and get my lemonade color and a little water to kind of keep everything flowing good. Just lightly mist. We're not here to soak it. I'm going to bring my light color up to meet the dark color. You don't want your brushes, I don't want this brush to get the dark yellow on it because I want to just keep using it for my lemonade. Okay, I'm gonna set that off to the side. Just gonna mist this, as well as maybe that line that you just created. And just kind of, that brush needs a lot more water. There we go. Bring it up with a light hand. Bring that dark yellow down into your light color. These two blend together beautifully. And so you've created this blend, and then you come down into the nice light lemonade. And you don't want to overwork it too much and start pulling up what you've already done, but can you see how nice that looks? Got the dark down into the light. And we're going to move over to this section. Bring some of this dark yellow back down into this drawer. Get my blending brush. You don't want a harsh line when you're blending. You just want it to kind of seamlessly go down into the lighter color. You kind of want to look at a piece of furniture and be like, how did they do that? That's at least how I look at it. There we go. Now, let's get back to the blend. Now we can blend it a little bit better now that I put the white in, or the lemonade in there. I think I kind of forgotten to do that. Gotta make sure we keep our steps good. Sometimes it's hard not to get ahead of yourself because you get excited about seeing it finally really take on the look that you're going for. Just really smooth, nice transition, excuse me. Light hand. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit more of my Colonel Mustard and just hit this one little spot where I hit it a little bit with a light color on accident. There we go. And there you have it. You can see very light, subtle blending. Just making sure I don't have any drips. And there we have it. I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. I'm going to turn you around and kind of see how it's looking. Okay. Thank you guys for watching.